Thing we've been waiting on for several months, and it's now here. It's called Bella Melt. You were on it for just 1 week when you lost 3 pounds. So in the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. It's a sugar-free, fast melt caramel. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we've talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel. We're noticing other people losing up to 7 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds has been about the average. As you lose weight and as you take these Bella Melts, it's going to help lower that blood sugar in your body as well.
All the information is there. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. Just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 Fast Action.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, October 22nd. Year's almost over, but that's okay. No rush. We are live on worldviewtube.com and WorldviewTube app, Rumble, and X account. If you do not have the app, it is for free. Just go to your app store, look up WorldviewTube, and install it. You get notifications. If you set them up, you get notification when we are live or whenever there's a breaking news. You won't miss one. We're also live on X America News X account. We are live on my Rumble, both YouTube channels, Facebook, and Substack. And as always, I invite you to join the conversation. Put in your comment, question, agreement, disagreement, facts, news, anything that is, and I will check the comment section as much as I can. In a minute, we will be joined by our very special guest who joins us every other Wednesday, Barry Nussbaum. But let me quickly just say one thing that is not related. I don't know, it might get into the discussion, but so the Grossi, the boss of the nuclear agency, said a very interesting thing this morning. You know what he said? This is the moment I've been waiting for. That's not what he said. That's what I'm saying. He said this morning that if Iran continues at the speed it's continuing, it will have enough enriched uranium for 10 nuclear bombs. To everybody who commented on my Substacks and posts saying, give it up, our B2s took care of the nuke issue with Iran. Oops. I guess it didn't. I guess when I reported back in July that Golan Mountain is going to be the new home of Iran's nuclear facility, when I reported that the over 400 kilograms of enriched uranium was moved before we dropped the B2s, I wasn't so anti-Trump, but rather I was factual. So get ready as we keep giving time to Iran, as we keep saying, if they don't this and that, we will do this and that, just like we do the same thing with Hamas and Hezbollah and Houthis and every other jihadist out there. There's a good chance that they'd be ready to have 10 nuclear weapons. But what do I know? I'm just some Islamophobe with bad experiences who has turned against Trump. Now that's out of the way with the great news. Let's go ahead and bring on our special guest, Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project. You can find him at findbarry.com, and I strongly suggest you check out his website. They are also on Substack to my Substackers, because I know you guys always look for good references on Substack. Find American Truth Project on Substack, subscribe, follow. They put out good information. Hi, Barry. Thank you so much for joining me.
So good to be with you, Annie. I've looked forward to this for 2 weeks.
Me too. Do you want to make any comment about my drop? No comments on that. My news that I just dropped about Iran, or should we move on?
You know, I find it amazing that Iran has kicked out all the inspectors. Nobody's allowed in anymore from the IAEA, not that they were doing much good anyway. Number two, they have publicly said, as sort of a middle finger to Donald Trump, if you think you got all the enhanced uranium, ha, 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 you're wrong. The Ayatollah said that yesterday. And number three, they said that they will continue with their nuclear enhancement program because that's their right. So all three of these actions are very clearly substantiating the fact that they don't think they got annihilated or their long-standing nuclear program was eliminated. They're telling the world on a daily basis that you're right and Donald Trump is wrong. And all of that self-congratulatory, we did something no one could have done, we have the technology no one has done, both of which are true. But it's quite possible the raid was not a success.
Right? But the question is, why are we not doing anything about it? Why do we just keep talking tough?
Well, you know, if you talk tough once and you back it up, people believe you. If you talk tough twice and don't do anything, they believe you a little less. Trump is at the point now where he has threatened Hamas, I don't know, 36 times. Then he sends over the vice president, J.D. Vance, who's there right now in Israel, making these very strong statements. We're going to kill everybody in Hamas. Nobody believes the United States because we haven't done anything. And more importantly, we've got a leash on Netanyahu that's about this long, and he's reined in. I was going to mention it to start the show. The new intelligence out of Israel, you're not going to believe this, says Hamas still has 20,000 armed terrorists in the tunnels, 20,000, and hundreds of rockets that haven't been discovered, and at least half the tunnel system is still intact. That's 24 battalions. That's an army bigger than a bunch of countries in the Middle East. And Trump has said, I'm going to wipe you all out if you don't disarm. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Nobody, and I mean nobody, believes Trump anymore. And to make matters worse, Trump has insisted that the IDF stand down. So the IDF is watching from across the yellow line, as they call it, the other half of Gaza being run again by Hamas. Only the difference is, Annie, they're out in the open. They don't believe Trump. They're not afraid of him. Trump has said no troops on the ground. And who's sending troops? Who wants to anyway? The Arab countries, most of whom supported Hamas. So we've gone backwards, we as a country, in our diplomacy and our ability to affect policy in the Middle East, not forward. We stopped Israel from wiping out Hamas. Hamas is signing up people by the thousands every week. They've got plenty of arms, plenty of rockets, and half their tunnels still there. Except now they're out in the streets slaughtering, executing on YouTube the opponents of their rule. And then they broadcast it as they upload the videos all over social media. They're scaring the heck out of anybody that doesn't support them. Oh boy, something's got to change real quick or Hamas is going to be back in control. Hamas has said repeatedly from their leaders that are in Qatar, from their leaders that were in Egypt, this is only a hudna, and we'll talk about what that means. We will be back in 2 to 3 years, bigger and stronger than ever. We will not give up governing Gaza. We will not give up our weapons. We will not give up our fight to kill the Jews. Everything I just said are quotes. So what have we accomplished? One special thing. The 20 live hostages came out. in exchange for, get this, 1,900 and some change terrorists released from Israeli jails. We got 20 live hostages out. That's great. Released 1,900, almost 2,000 terrorists, all of which have blood on their hands. They're right back in the fight. And now Trump has said Bibi can't act. Although he talks tough, it's just like with Iran. If you say it often enough and you don't do anything, people just say, it's background noise. And that's what Trump has unfortunately gotten to that point now. And he has J.D. Vance saying the same speech, and nobody believes J.D. Vance anymore either.
Well, let me add a few inserts. Number one, and I understand as humans, as Christian Jews, we are to cherish life. No question about it. However, I will say I actually have kept count for my own sanity. The 20 live hostages who were released, I will say this with a straight face over and over. Mossad and IDF have what it takes to do rescue missions and rescue. They have hunted down the ghost of Beirut. The ghost, the guy whose name was Ghost because nobody even know how he looks like. Not only they hunted him down, they flawlessly took him out. Okay, this could have been achieved through a rescue mission if their hands weren't tied behind their back, if the American policy wasn't constantly telling them what to do. For those who scream on the screens every day saying, Jews control and run America, pay attention who runs who. Look at the evidence instead of the lies you're being fed. That being said, for the 20 alive hostages that were released, as you said, 1,950 jihadists were released, 250 of them convicted of committing an act, either rape, murder, plotting, building the bomb, training the bomber, recruiting the bomber, something. So I'm keeping track of, are they going to overwrite the 20 lives we supposedly saved with the hundreds next they're going to take out? As you said many times, and I learned from you, the mastermind behind October 7th was a prisoner exchange, wasn't he?
Yep.
You see where I'm going?
Yeah, after being cared for in Israeli jails and hospitals, he was released. And as soon as he got released, he started drafting the plan for the massacre that was intended to kill 100,000 Jews.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Times,
1,200 of them.
And I hate to validate the New York Times because they're mostly wrong. They have looked at the manuscript written by Yahya Sinwar and have authenticated it. It is the plan that he wrote to kill all the Jews in southern Israel. And so, yeah, he's dead. Thank goodness he's gone. This way, no doubt, not this way. But the fact of the matter is, a war half finished is not a finish of a war. Hamas has a very, very large army. They have half their tunnels, hundreds of rockets, thousands of automatic weapons, and they're still killing Jews. They did 2 days ago. And Trump says the ceasefire is still there. I think the information he's getting is either misinformation or Trump wants the Abraham Accords so badly to be expanded, he is forcing Jews to be killed because he won't let Israel finish the job. Meanwhile, right now, Hamas gangs are roaming the streets in Gaza in pickup trucks, executing people that they think are opposing them. They're dragging people out in front of their families and shooting the entire clan. How do I know? They published the videos. It's not intelligent. It's on YouTube.
Exactly. Guys, we got to go to our first ad break, but don't go anywhere because we're just getting started, and I will check out your comments just in case if you have any questions for me or Barry. We'll be right back.
everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. I appreciate that. And yes, our Christmas sale is still going on. I don't know how far I'm going to extend it, but 30% off across my store, lutfstudio.com, lutfstudio.com, 30% off. And on top of that, if you use your promo code from this program, Mission, you get an extra 10% so you can do your Christmas shopping or pick up your Christmas decorations, ornaments, and get up to 40% off your entire purchase. And I know there's still time. Even as we get closer to Christmas, I am doing fast shipping, meaning you'll probably get it faster than expected on the website. That's lutfstudio.com. You can also place a custom order if you see an item you like, but you want it in different color combination. On the website, click on the text that says contact the seller, and I will receive a direct notification of your request, and I will contact you and start working on that. And as most of you know, between Substack and my art studio is where I pay the bills. And though many says economy is getting better, mine hasn't yet, so I still have to cover the bills to the best of my ability. I appreciate your support through Substack or my art store during this time. Okay, let's go ahead and bring Barry back on. And Barry, I want to add something, or as always, make an insert. Yes, they killed him. Yahya Sinwar was killed. But my question is, why wasn't he killed the first time he killed people? Why do we repeat it? And forget about Trump for a second. I don't even want to talk, which I have a question about that too. But why? I know they're working on it now, and they're trying to vote on it. But I was shocked when I find out that Israel doesn't have capital punishment. Like, if there was one country in the world that needed capital punishment, would be Israel. Why?
It has to do with their ethical belief that comes from the Bible. In Israel's history, they've executed one person, Adolf Eichmann, who was the architect of the final solution, i.e. the Holocaust under Hitler, who they kidnapped in South America and brought back to stand trial, and had hundreds of witnesses that had survived the concentration camps testify against him. That was the only time. And I've got to tell you, I am a firm believer that some of this evil is so horrible. These crimes are so horrific. Every other country in the Middle East and in the West, there's the United States, has capital punishment for horrific crimes. Some of the people that were let out of jail killed dozens, men, women, children, blew up buses, blew up restaurants, planted bombs in schools, drive-by shootings. I mean, these are horrific crimes. They were let out in exchange for 20 innocent hostages taken. And the New York Times reported it as an exchange of prisoners. I mean, boy, when you talk about the value of words and misinformation, what a different story it tells. As you and I have discussed before, if you're a student at, say, Columbia, and you say, wow, Israel let out 1,900 prisoners. Hamas let out 20 prisoners. I guess that was a fair exchange. Oh, good. Things are better now. The people that Hamas let out went back to their families and cheering crowds and went back to work and are going through rehabilitation. Why? Because they were starved nearly to death. Some were starved to death. The ones that are coming out now, the hostages, were all executed by Hamas. The ones that came out of Israeli jails were all fed, were all cared for. They had lawyers, they had medical care, and they had 3 meals a day. They also had prayer time, their prayer rugs, and so on. Totally different. I happen to know it because I've been there and I have connections to get the truth. The American and Western media especially tells a completely different story.
Yes, I think, though I have not been blessed to travel to Israel yet. It is on my list, and as you know, I wasn't born in Israel. I'm not a Jew, but I think by far the deepest passion for Israel, the Holy Land, and the Jewish people. But I am frustrated on their behalf. I am tired on their behalf. How many times, like the life of the hostages, I can guarantee you, will never be the same. Okay, they will never see life the same as before October 7th. Like their life will be defined as before October 7th and after October 7th, slice of a chapter. But the rest of the Israelis have to still look over their shoulder, Barry, every single day. When is Hamas coming back? When is Hezbollah dropping bombs? When are Houthis going to drop missiles? When a boss is going to drive in and blow up? All of that is repeatedly. Now I'm going to get to the Trump question. Can you show me, please show me, the legal international documentation that says any of this is one way or another President Trump or any other American president's business?
That is such a confounding question that I want to talk for an hour and a half about. The
Go
truth
for
of the
it.
matter,
Honestly, take your time.
the truth of the matter is, and this is very personal to me, I have a family member who was living on the second kibbutz that was hit on October 7th. And yesterday, the body was identified that was returned, executed on October 7th, who was the volunteer head of security on that kibbutz. So for my family, it's very personal. And everyone that still lives there wonders when the next attack is coming. Because the truth is, Annie, Hamas has only been degraded by 50% of the size of the army they had on October 7th. They had 40,000 armed terrorists on October 7th. The estimate now, independently verified, is they have 20,000 fighters left.
Yeah.
So
Wait. But you need to take into consideration the announcement by IRGC on Monday. They have already deployed troops for both Houthis and Hamas Monday, and including those troops are weapons coming. So it's just a matter of a couple of days until they get to Houthis and they get to Hamas. And also on the day of the exchange, we witnessed Hezbollah soldiers standing behind Hamas soldiers. So I say they have already recovered 10,000 out of the 20,000 dead.
it very well may be true, except there's a profound difference of the facts on the ground, and that is Israel is now restrained, according to President Trump in his own words. I have them under control. I will not let them strike back. He's bragging about it. So the IDF soldiers that are still in place are behind the yellow line, as they call it, as Hamas parades around. Now in public, they've come out of the tunnels, Annie, and they are slaughtering people in Gaza right now. There is no outcry from the world. There's no outcry from the UN. There's not a word out of the Hollywood imbeciles that were decrying the slaughter in Gaza because it's Palestinians killing Palestinians. And that's okay. No Jews, no news. In addition, you have heard, I don't know, 1,000 times of the mass starvation that's going on in Gaza, right? The UN's own people said last week there's enough food in Gaza right now stockpiled for 6 months for the entire population of Gaza, and more coming in every day through Israel on Israeli trucks, often paid for by Israel, along with water, power, healthcare, and whatever they need for desalinization. Israel's paying for all of that. This is the only war in the history of the world where one side invades another country, the invading country suffers dramatic casualties, strikes back, and as they're striking back, they take care of the attackers. They feed them, they clothe them, they house them, and they move them around so civilians don't get hurt. What do I mean by move them around? They send text messages, they drop leaflets, they have loudspeakers, they send messages where your phone starts talking to you. Vacate this area. We think someone from Hamas is there. We're going to try and get them. Get out of the way. This has never happened in the history of war, ever, in the whole history of the world. And yet, Trump, the United States, and the Europeans won't let Israel finish the job. But
Why?
We're threatening them every 5 minutes. Nobody believes the threats anymore. And I mean nobody.
Yeah, but you haven't answered there's a document that it makes it Trump or any American president business.
Oh, sorry. Got off on a tangent. Thanks for
That's
getting me
all right.
back in line.
Well, of course.
Like I said, there's so much to talk about. I think there's a double standard, the likes of which the world has never seen. Imagine if after Pearl Harbor, which was the biggest tragedy that ever hit American military, the Europeans said, no, stand down. We don't think you should strike the Japanese. The entire United States Congress would have put up a big middle finger and done what they needed to do. Same thing with Germany. For some reason, it's okay for the United States to tell Israel what to do. And with the threat that was made very obvious being carried out under Biden and under Obama, you don't listen to the United States, you don't have weapons to be able to defend yourself and survive as a country. So the leverage is dramatic. And I'm sure it's been whispered in the ear of Bibi Netanyahu and the defense minister and the foreign minister and the ambassadors, you better do it our way or whoosh. And that's why J.D. Vance is there right now. He is there to tell Israel not to respond, even though Israelis are still getting killed. Right now, they're being shot at. There was a bomb that went off and blew up a tank yesterday. Israel hadn't done anything. The tank blew up. And the day before that, 2 Israelis were killed by Hamas with a rocket-propelled grenade. And also 2 days ago, a squad came out of a tunnel. I watched the video. 8 Hamas fighters with automatic weapons. Fortunately, it was caught on a drone, and they were intercepted. They were on their way to kidnap Israeli soldiers. Why do I know there was a kidnapping? Because they declared they will kidnap more soldiers for more leverage to improve their negotiating power. They don't make it a secret, Annie. They publicize it. I've never heard of anything like this. At least, in comparison, the Germans hid the atrocities. These people announce it and brag about it.
Yes, they do. And here's the reason I wanted to take you back. I want my audience to understand you need to try to connect the dots. You need to understand each president, each American president has their own agenda. However, there is an agenda. Okay, this is an alliance. This is not Trump is the strongest ally of Israel. Obama was the least ally of Israel. None of that applies. Every single president has an agenda to twist Israeli government and military's arm to gain what they want. Stop putting your prayers out and grace out for Trump that he saved 20 Jewish lives. If he cared for Jewish lives, if he cared for anybody's life, he would have let Israel finish Iran instead of butting in pretending like they took out their nuclear and then getting a ceasefire and throwing a life jacket at Khamenei, the big monster, guess what? If Iran was out, the rest of them would automatically die down. That's fact, and everybody knows it. Trump or Obama or Biden or Reagan, you name them, any of them. They don't care for Middle Eastern lives. Listen, they don't even care for our lives here in America. Otherwise, they wouldn't import jihad into America. We got to go take our next ad break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But with Brandon, it's always cutting edge stuff happening in the world. And it's not just from the political angle, because you can get that on other platforms, but it's always from the biblical angle. So you're dealing with a guy that loves Jesus, you're dealing with a guy that's very intelligent, you're dealing with a guy that is cutting edge conservatism, and you're dealing with a guy that wants to be biblical all at the same time. And so for that reason alone, I hope many, many people will not just lift up his ministry in prayer, but will also financially get behind it, because from the angle I'm trying to describe, he really is the only game in town. And we desperately need it in these last days. Can I get an amen to that?
Amen. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. And I see a comment from Ann Rapture Ready. And I want you to know that I'm Rapture Ready too. So I love the handle on YouTube. And you are correct. History is repeating itself. However, the lack of knowledge, those who reject the knowledge by turning the other cheek, turning off channels like mine, not listening, denying, going into their comfort little bubble, those don't even know history. So how do we expect them to know that it's repeating itself? And Sue, I think you put this comment before we concluded on our answer, but says, how can anybody stop Israel from taking care of its own? Israel does not have to listen to these people. And Sue, as Barry just concluded, and as I did, they unfortunately do. Believe it or not, Israel is the most isolated nation in the world, regardless of the fake PR you hear about Western countries and Western leaders loving Israel, and they make a trip over there once in a while, stand by the wall and take a PR picture. Israel is extremely isolated. It is. Let me give you some repetitive information. In the Middle East, just Middle East, not the whole continent of Asia. In the Middle East, you have 14 countries. Let me give you some interesting fact. There are 14 countries. If you look at the map today, 14 official countries, that is not including those who consider Palestine a state. There are 14 countries. There's Israel, and then there are 13 Islamic nations, not all Arab. Well, I could go as far as saying majority Arab Muslim countries. But there's also Pakistan, not being Arab. There's Iran with a population that's not Arab. There's parts of Turkey that is not Arab. But point is, it's 13 countries against one. And here's the interesting part. If you doubt, if you think I'm some anti-Western, somebody commented this morning, it was hilariously hideous. If you love that side of the world so much, why don't you go back and join the struggle? Because I'm not a stupid. To answer your question, do I love Iran? Absolutely. Do I love Israel? Yes. Will I go there and join the struggle? No, because I'm not a stupid. Now, that being said, out of the 14 countries, only 3 are ancient existence by right on that area. That is Israel, Persia, you call it Iran today, and Turkey. How did we end up with 14 countries there? UK, France, and US decided to grab pens and split these countries, these lands, into smaller countries. 9 of these 14 were created from 1920 to today. 1920 to today, okay? Not some 7th century. 1920 to today, between UK, France, and US, the 3 lands turned into 14 countries. Now, again, tell me Western countries care about Middle Easterns or their lives or their people. No, they don't. What they care about is their own benefit. And again, I'll remind you, do your own study. Nowhere in our earth has as much gems as Middle East. Not even if you step into West Central Asia do you find as much gems. And that has been the reason that Middle East has struggled all these years from ancient to today. So let's stop pretending to care of Western countries or any of the presidents of US for life of people in Middle East. Big time rant there. Any thoughts on what I just went over, Barry?
Yeah, the thing that you touched on the big nugget of truth, which is 3 letters, OIL, oil. It's the reason why on 9/11, the only planes flying were Saudi planes going back to Saudi Arabia. Every other plane in the United States was grounded. We didn't want to disrupt the flow of oil. It's why George Bush stood on the ruins of the World Trade Center and proclaimed the biggest lie in American history, certainly the biggest lie of any American president, which is Islam is the religion of peace. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why? Oil. And now the oil is turned into fabulous wealth controlled by UAE and Qatar and so on. And the wealth of those countries has great influence on us, the United States, and our foreign policy. If, as you said earlier, the United States wanted to do the right thing, they would say right now in a joint press conference with Vice President J.D. Vance, who is meeting with the Prime Minister as we speak, at least he was an hour ago, and say, we're turning loose the IDF. Why? Because Hamas has violated 17 of the 20 points in the 20-point peace initiative that was signed with President Trump. And so, as President Trump has threatened, you will disarm immediately. You didn't. You will release all the hostages immediately. You didn't. You will not be involved in the government. You lied. You will not interfere with the food. You lied. You're executing your own people. You're slaughtering them in the streets of Gaza. We're turning loose the IDF. You want to live? Come out and surrender and lay down your arms. That is what a leader would do. And we're not
Well,
doing
actually,
any.
I'm going to take it a step further and make it more simple. A real leader of any country would worry about his own people, their economy, their education, their health, their safety. To me, that's what a good leader does. Like, I go back to Cyrus the Great. When he was expanding his empire, he never took control of any of the lands he conquered. You know this, Barry. He conquered, freed people, and moved on. Told the people, pick whomever you want to pick. And if they ended up picking Hamas, he didn't go back to fixes. Like, you had your chance, you picked the wrong people, now deal with it. The only land he ruled was Iran. He never went expanding his own empire under his ruling. That is how he wrote the Declaration of Human Rights, Cyrus Cylinder. He would leave it. That's how they found it in today's Iraq. But he had this cylinder, not the cylinder, the writing. What did they call it? The roll, whatever, scroll. He would leave it there, that this land has been freed from tyrants and whatever. All the people of this land have the right to their faith, their religion, their culture, their language, yada, 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 yada. And he moved on. That's what a leader does. You want to get involved to free some land, some people, and help them. Okay. Get involved when you're invited to come and free tyrants. You know how you do that? You tell Israel that I'm back here. You need help. You need to buy weapons. You got it. Otherwise, you seem to be doing a great job. In 12 days, you almost wiped the mullahs off the map. Oh, no, wait, I got to stop you. I need the mullahs there. So a good leader, to me, he would butt out. He would stay right here in America and fix all the issues we're facing here in America. He has spent most of his last 10 months in Middle East, Barry, has he not?
You know, I'm reminded of the America First people. President Trump, MAGA, Make America Great Again, is all about America First. Not America only, but America first. And what I mean by that is we have alliances. Israel is the front line against Islamic terrorism, and either we let Israel fight them there or we're going to fight them here. And it may happen here anyway, the way we're letting people in that are here by the millions that were never vetted, courtesy of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Having said that, the idea that we are restraining Israel from finishing the job and proclaiming peace in our time is insane. It is grossly untrue, and it is absolutely guaranteeing more terrorism on Israel's people because we won't let them kill the bad guys who are still right now attempting to kill Israelis. Right now, as we are talking. The difference is we have Israel on a leash, and that's why J.D. Vance is there and telling everybody the big lie. The peace is holding. The truce is working.
He said we're stepping into phase 2. I'm like, what? Why? Like, phase 1 failed.
Phase 1, it never happened, except for one part. 20 hostages came out and a dozen dead bodies. That's it.
And
Hamas
1,950 jihadists were released.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if you guys know this. It has now been announced by the Palestinian Authority that they spent over 200 million shekels, Israeli currency, to reward the convicted murderers who were let out of prison. That's over $70 million US. Is that unbelievable?
No. Remember when Obama sent the billions to Iran, what did the Supreme Leader do? $5,000 reward for every Palestinian family whose husband or son are either dead or in Israeli prison. It's not shocking at all. That's what they do.
One specific guy, Riyad al-Amor, who went to jail for killing 9 Israelis, murdered them in cold blood. He got 1.28 million shekels. His accomplice, Ismail Hamdan, got 1.21 million shekels. So the lead murderer got $384,000 in cash as soon as he got back to Gaza, and his accomplice got $363,000 in cash. As
Barry,
Hamas
I have a question. How much of these millions shekels do you think came from the aid for Palestine and Qatar?
100%. 100%. The Palestinian Authority generates no income, no revenue.
Exactly.
It's all donations. And by the way, don't for a second think you are not helping pay for this with your tax dollars. We give money to the Palestinian Authority. They turn around and pay the people that commit murder. And in the White House, President Trump was promised no more pay for slay. It's still there today. What does the UN say? Nothing. What does the EU say? Nothing. What do the Hollywood celebrities and influencers say? Nothing. Mahmoud Abbas, who is the head of the Palestinian Authority, who is demanding to rule Gaza, said, I'm going to quote this to you. He has declared the Palestinian Authority will keep paying stipends to terrorists and their families, quote, even if we have only 1 cent left, unquote. This program is the top national priority of the Palestinian Authority, meaning if they're down to their last dollar, it's going to someone who killed a Jew. What did President Trump do about it? Nothing. He made a speech saying, I ended it because I threatened to cut off the money. And then he did nothing. That's why, Annie, I'm so frustrated with our great president, because in this area, it almost seems like what he says is the opposite of what he does. How many times have you heard in the last 2 weeks, Hamas must lay down their weapons and surrender or we will kill them all? Hamas must surrender or all hell will break loose. He said it about 20 different ways on Truth Social, and J.D. Vance right now is in Israel, in Jerusalem with the prime minister, repeating the same speech. I don't think anybody believes them anymore. Truthfully, nobody.
Let's do this. Let's take our last ad break, and then I will respond to what you just said. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for staying until now. Before we get to the last part of the last segment, I want to remind you that lutfstudio.com is running a Christmas sale, 30% off entire website, entire store, entire inventory, whatever we call property in English. Head over to lutfstudio.com, make a purchase, but do all your Christmas shopping if you're ready for it. Also, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. That is where you can get all of my work, including my shows that airs there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And if you can, I am asking you to step up and become a paid subscriber. We do need 27 more paid subscribers by end of the month to be able to continue doing the daily reporting I am doing. So I greatly appreciate your support. Okay, Barry. It's okay. I'm gonna go full me here. Trump has claims that are all incorrect. From the 9 wars he ended, that's the thing. Does he know the difference between a war ending and a temporary bandit ceasefire? He does know, but he doesn't care. He'll say it out there. He likes to collect as many crowns as he likes because he wants to be the whatever it is he wants to be the. But when it comes to J.D. Vance, actually, his original statement was very different. The day he was flying to Israel, he was at the literally boarding the plane. He was asked that there is no date on disarming Hamas. What's up with that? His response, paraphrasing all of this, was, it is not possible to put a date on it. We don't even know how many they are. We don't have the possibility to track down and see if they are disarmed or not. So for a split second, J.D. Vance was honest on cameras and thankfully was captured. Now, when he got to Israel, the narrative changed to Trump's narrative of disarm or we kill you or whatever. But he did say the truth, which is stop hoping for a day when Hamas is going to be disarmed. So I go back to the question of when we are aware, when our government knows there is no disarming Hamas, when Israel government knows for fact, what are we waiting for? No, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about the IDF, people of Israel, and Netanyahu. What is he? I get that he might be afraid that another indictment is going to come out against him. But don't you think right now it's the matter of just going and finish him? Because Trump is going to keep buying him time like he did months for Iran until now they're worried they might have enough material to build 10 nuclear bombs?
During the break, just now, I got a text from Israel from a very close friend of mine who is very connected. He says the ceasefire is a joke. It was not to stop the killing and stop Hamas. It was stopped the way it was to guarantee that Hamas survives. That's what you've been saying. That's what I've been saying. That's what he just said from Israel. Keep in mind, the lead negotiator on behalf of peace, and I would put that in quotes, is Qatar. Qatar, for those viewers out there in Live Up to Freedom Land that don't know, harbors all the leaders of Hamas. It funds Hamas. It dictates policy to Hamas. It is the home of Al Jazeera, the propaganda arm of Hamas. It has been proven in the last 4 or 5 days, based on documents that have been recovered out of Gaza, that Hamas was dictating stories to Al Jazeera as a propaganda arm for their terror network. So the funder, the refuge, the training camp, and the dictator of policy for Hamas is Qatar, the negotiator of peace. And to see our American president hugging the Qataris and telling them that we're great friends and telling them that we're going to sign a mutual defense treaty. They don't even have an army. It means we're going to defend them against anybody that attacks them. And then we give them a military base in America. I can't for the life of me figure out what's going on. And I'm an expert in this, and it makes no sense. Hamas has half the size of the army they had 2 years ago. They have half as many tunnels as they have 2 years ago. They're being rearmed right now. And the only difference between now and October 2 years ago is the Israeli army is being held back by the President of the United States. Please tell me why. I don't know why. It makes no sense.
Well, I could tell you why Trump is doing what Trump is doing, but I just sound like a broken record. But let me sound like a broken record one more time. If Trump achieves what he wants, which is expansion of Abrahamic deals, which is a myth of its own. Don't get me started there. But anyhow, then between Mike Johnson and the representative from the Israeli Knesset, it becomes so much easier to get him the 2026 peace prize. Everybody can deny this. I know for a fact Trump will literally hand over his own son and son-in-law to Islamic, Hamas, and Hezbollah to get that peace prize next year. We said it on the last show. Barry, you were my guest when we talked about it. I said when he doesn't get it tomorrow or day after, whenever it was announcement, then he's going to start throwing more punches. He didn't win it. And immediately, while he's in Egypt trying to figure out the whole fake made-up billionaire deal between Erdogan, Turkey, Qatar, Egypt, and U.S., he calls Mike Johnson, hey, you got a press conference? I need you to make an announcement. In middle of talking about something of government shutdown, Mike Johnson's like, I have an announcement. Myself and someone from Israeli Knesset are going to do everything we can to get him the peace prize in 2026. That's it. That is the why. As I said, every president has their own agenda. Trump's agenda with Middle East on a level of presidential level is the peace prize. On a personal level, well, where do I begin? Jared Kushner bailout of the 666 Fifth Avenue by Qatar. They're building inside our base in Idaho. The golf course of Trump in Qatar. Where do I begin? That's the personal level of agenda.
Well, all of those things are personal, ego-driven enhancements for an aging celebrity / president of the United States, and doesn't do anything for enhancing the security of the United States, and certainly is extremely detrimental to the security of Israel on a major scale. On a major scale. Imagine if you were a judge or an attorney general in some jurisdiction and you caught a murderer with hundreds of murders to his resume, and you said to him, okay, if you promise not to kill any more people, I know you've been killing people for years, I'll let you go. That's exactly what's happening right now, but it's not one guy. According to this, it's 20,000 of them, fully armed terrorists that are wearing the green headband in Arabic to the death. Their charter says it, and their revised charter says it, to kill the Jews. Not the Jews in Israel, all the Jews. And if they can die a shaheed, all the better, they go to paradise. And you've got mother after mother after mother putting the videos up on YouTube today in Gaza proclaiming, I have 5 sons. May Allah accept them all as shaheeds. Martyrs who die in the cause advancing Islam. Salute. God bless you. For all of those that don't know what it means. It's disgusting. And we, America, under our presidential leadership and our representatives, including J.D. Vance, who's there right now, are guaranteeing this is not over. Hamas themselves yesterday out of Qatar in a report on Al Jazeera announced This treaty is nothing more than a hudna. And as your voters, as your viewers know, a hudna is a temporary cessation of violence while the Muslim army regroups, rearms, reestablishes the new protocols. And as soon as they get strong enough, they attack again. That's what hudna means. It is not a treaty. It is not a peace treaty. It is not a truce. It's, hey, don't kill us. Let us rearm. Let us get stronger so we can come back and kill all of you.
Exactly. Quick note, this is going to be a paid Substack coming out Friday, but this is a YouTube comment saying, well, I really need to do some Middle East history study. I did not know that all these countries were created since 1920. Just a quick free sample. Iraq was invented by British in 1920s. British also invented Jordan in 1921. Syria was by France in 1920s, and Lebanon was separated from the made-up Syria by France. Later on, Saudi Arabia was claimed by Ibn Saud in 1932. That's why it's called Saudi Arabia, by the way. Saudi is the last name of the first Ibn Saud, son of Saud, who took the claim of Saudi Arabia, and then it became the Saudi Arabia because it was originally on the Arabia land. And then you have UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, who were all made as a British protection and U.S. allies. Just a preview, but it will come out on Friday with details. You know how I do my exposés on this kind of stuff, so stay tuned if you're a subscriber on Substack. If not, here's another reason. But those were the 9 countries made since 1920s until today. Yes, these people didn't exist.
You might add the Hussein family was given the governments, literally. That's why you had Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and you still have the Hussein family ruling Jordan, and you had Hussein descendants in Syria. These people are all related. They were given countries that were made up.
These are all going to be part of the expose, exactly, to prove, because here's the thing. We have 2 minutes, and I'm just going to quickly push this in. I want my audience to understand something. Did you know there's no such a race as Arabs? Did you know that? Did you? Did you know there was an Arab tribe with the Arabic language? And thanks to Western countries, now you think there are Arabs. You think they existed. You think they somehow had power. You think Muhammad just rised from the Arabs of Saudi Arabia. No, actually, Muhammad is considered more of a Judea race because there is no Arab race. And this is why I'm writing this, Barry. I am sick and tired of the lies. When somebody tells me that, well, there is no such a thing as Persians anymore, and then they go rally for Arabs, I'm like, hey, did you know one of the original 8 races of ancient world were Persians? And races don't disappear, though we make up new races, but the existing ones don't disappear. And Jewish race is one of those 8 ancient races. So for anybody who wants to wipe Jews off the map of the race or the faith, good luck. We have 1 minute, last words of wisdom on whatever you want to talk about before we wrap up, Barry.
I would say that prayers or political lobbying is in order for all those who consider themselves supporters of Israel, because if the stand down order continues and the enemies of Israel are allowed to come in for administrative co-governance with Hamas in Gaza, you're going to see a repeat of October 7th. Hamas must be eliminated, disarmed, and expelled from the territory if they're still alive. And if they don't want to leave, they need to be buried. Their arms need to be taken from them, and it needs to be an administrative state that literally gives up war. If that doesn't happen, this will repeat itself again and again and again.
And again, yes, findberry.com, findberry.com. Get more information, get more educational material, findberry.com. And lutfstudio.com is where you can pick up some art pieces for your Christmas shopping. We're absolutely out of time. You guys will stay safe and stay vigilant. I will be back Monday to do it all over again. Goodbye.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high